My Hero Academia Season 5 Episode 14 is out, and with this new episode, the students of UA officially begin their new hero work studies. This episode covers events from 4 chapters of the My Hero manga, following the events of Chapter 245, 246, 247, and 248. And so, without further ado, let's jump right into My Hero Academia Season 5 Episode 15, titled One Step at a Time. And as usual, don't forget to Detroit smash that like button and slide into that subscribe button's DMs to hit that notification bell. This episode opens up with Hawks flying to a currently undisclosed location to meet with the key members of the League of Villains and the new and upcomers in the My Hero world, the Meta Liberation Army. Here, the villains congratulate Hawks on all of his hard work in spreading the good word of the Liberation Army, and a mysterious long-nosed man also praises Hawks, claiming that it's clear he actually read the Meta Liberation War book and that he really understands the Destroness of it all. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this entire scene is probably extremely confusing for anyone who is an anime-only fan, which is most certainly one of the major downsides to the anime's arc rearrangement. It's not a super big deal, but having this scene play here and not knowing its full context not only seems a bit strange narratively, but also kinda spoils some things unintentionally, which is pretty disappointing. But anyway, after Hawks gets his ass kissed for being his amazing self, I mean, come on, who wouldn't want to kiss his ass? Just look at him. He goes to leave the villain's meeting room, but before he goes, he sneaks one of his iconic red feathers into the door crack, allowing him to eavesdrop on the villain's conversations. And it's through this eavesdropping that Hawks learns about the villain's plan to take over Japan in 4 months' time. We then cut away to My Hero's most questionable intro, and then the story cuts right back to Hawks wandering the halls of the Meta Liberation hideout, where we see him strategizing his next course of action. During Hawks' planning, the story also flashes back and forth to Endeavor's agency, where we see Endeavor still piecing together Hawks' coded message. And it's through this message where both us and Endeavor learns that the real reason the Commission instituted compulsory work studies for Hero Corps students is because they want to have the students as a sort of insurance in case the hero's assault on the Meta Liberation Army, whenever that is, fails, and they need more manpower on the streets. Shortly after Endeavor learns this, we see Midoriya, Bakugo, and Todoroki outside Endeavor's offices on standby, chatting with the Endeavor Agency's pro-heroes. Everyone's favorite hot-headed female hero, Burnin, tells the students that more than likely Shoto is going to be working with his papa, and the childhood besties for the resties, Izuku and Bakugo, will be stuck working with, as Lord Explosion Murder would put it, the extras. But this turns out to be entirely wrong, as Endeavor enters the room, now filled with the knowledge on the real reason he was told to train up his work-study students, and he tells Class 1A's Big Tree that they are coming with him. And following this, once again we see Hawks in the villain's hideout, except this time he's thinking to himself how the villains are really underestimating the Hero Corps students. And as we get this killer montage of all of the Hero Corps students, Class 1A, 1B, Shiketsu High, Ketsubutsu Academy, and knockoff Sonic the Hedgehog for some reason, Hawks' narration declares that whatever happens, it won't go how the villains want it to, and he hopes that the next time the cherry blossoms fall, there will be a smile on everybody's face. And after what felt like should have been the end of the episode, we then hop back on over to Endeavor's agency, where the real hero work studies is about to begin. Before heading out into the action, Endeavor interviews Class 1A's Big Tree one by one, asking them what they can currently do and what exactly they want to get from working with the #1 hero. Midoriya, in typical Midoriya fashion, goes on a rant and spends just under 1/10 of the episode explaining every single one of his abilities. God help the poor voice actor who had to record this scene. And in case anyone was wondering, yes, Deku going on a ridiculously long rant about his abilities is exactly how it went down in the manga too. Bakugo, in typical Bakugo fashion, says that he's here to find out if there is anything he can't do. And as we see what I can only assume is his personal scrapbook, he details his amazing character development up to this point. And he tells Endeavor he is here to find out what he needs to do in order to surpass the #1 hero. And Todoroki, out of nowhere using magic or some shit, replays his memories in balls of fire and ice, and he tells Endeavor that he is here just to use his dad to become a better hero. And that's it. By the way, I know Todoroki's memory displaying fire and ice powers are just for visual flair, so please don't destroy me in the comments. Hearing everything Midoriya had to say, Endeavor comments how just like him, Midoriya is someone whose power needs to be mastered in order not to inflict self-harm. Hearing what Bakugo had to say, Endeavor thinks about how they share the same thirst and drive to be the #1 hero. And hearing what his sweet youngest son Shoto had to say, Endeavor gets sad. But he quickly moves past it, and Bakugo, Todoroki, and Midoriya finally begin their work studies under the tutelage of the #1 hero. Out in the city streets, Endeavor catches the kids up on Heroics 101, explaining that there are 3 types of hero work: rescue, evacuation, and fighting. And his hero agency, unlike any other agency, performs all 3: defeating the villains, rescuing the civilians, and evacuating the pillions. Close enough. Endeavor calls this triple threat approach parallel processing, and he tells his young Padawans that if they want to be great heroes, they will have to perform all 3 instinctually. So they will have to be able to defeat the bad guys while simultaneously making sure that any bystanders are safe. Endeavor then informs his newbies that they have a single objective that they need to complete before their work studies finishes up, and that is to capture a single villain faster than he can. Following this, we then get high-speed hero lessons from Endeavor, as he rushes off, swiftly taking down villains and rescuing civilians, all while breaking down what exactly each of the 3 kids needs to work on. Bakugo needs to focus on being able to use 100% of his power in an instant, while also being able to make precise movements and attacks. Todoroki needs to learn the exact same with his fire, but he also needs to work on using his flames for mobility, similar to how Endeavor does. And Midoriya needs to work on perfecting each of his quirks and techniques individually, so he can then work on using them in unison without the fear of damaging himself or going overboard in the process. And episode 15 comes to an end, with the 1A trio looking onward, now knowing what they each need to improve on, as Endeavor tells them that they need not worry about messing up, because no matter what they do, they'll never be able to mess up the #1 hero. Overall, this was a pretty good episode. All of the stuff with Bakugo, Midoriya, and Todoroki in Endeavor's agency really gave me old My Hero vibes, which is always a treat. I can't pinpoint exactly what it is, but it might have something to do with the UA kids actually getting to be trainee heroes again, and making silly but realistic mistakes, like Todoroki losing control when first attempting to move with his fire. It's honestly got me pretty excited for the next few episodes in this arc. The one real downfall in this episode, however, for me anyways, was the scene at the start with Hawks and the villains. I understand that for this arc to make any sense at all, we kinda need to know why exactly Endeavor would be so willing to train the UA kids. But still, it's the first time that seeing post-MVA stuff without actually seeing MVA didn't really work, and actually kinda ruined and spoiled some content. I'm not gonna say anything about spoilers for anime-only fans, but the dramatic montage of all the Hero Corps students didn't fit not only in the episode's pacing, but in the pacing of the series. Like, yeah, I get it's kinda cool, but really knowing why it's important to have the young heroes improving would make this moment 100 times more impactful. Overall, I'd give this episode a 7 out of 10. All of our main trio's interactions and scenes with Endeavor were great, but for the first time there were some pretty big narrative issues due to the story arc's rearrangement. Well, let me know what you thought of this episode. If you liked this video, don't forget to leave a like. For more My Hero content, subscribe to the Lunchtime crew. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Plus Ultra!